So it looks like we are properly into the winter 2022 season of anime, and there are a lot of shows to talk about this season, but the one I really want to give my thoughts on today is Akebi's Sailor Uniform. This is one of those shows that I picked out on a whim, and one of the main reasons behind that decision was actually just the beautiful looking trailer. After watching the first few episodes, I feel like this show has met my expectations, although they were a little subdued due to going in blind. You know, for the last few seasons of anime, it feels like there's at least one show that will stand out in the animation department, and this season it definitely feels like it's this show. I'm not one of those animation fanatics who can pick out every pixel or geek out over the different techniques, but this just feels like one of those shows where you could take out some clips and show them to anyone, and they can easily be able to spot the quality of the animation. Overall, the show is just very aesthetically pleasing, and so far with what we've gotten, I'm very impressed. Now, the big question for this show is obviously whether they can keep up that level of quality for the entire series, and Cloverworks definitely gives you a reason to doubt that with some of their recent anime, a certain season 2 of a very popular show. That being said, I can really feel the passion that is going into the animation of this show, and I feel like it's okay to be cautiously optimistic for the rest of it. So moving away from the beautiful animation, the story for this is actually very straightforward. Essentially, Akebi is super pumped up to go to the same prestigious high school as her mother, and the main reason behind that is the sailor uniform for the school. Her and her mom have this very heartwarming series of scenes where they go and pick out materials for her uniform, and she starts doing all the chores around the house so her mom can work on handcrafting her uniform. And obviously nowadays, when you think of sailor uniforms, you think, isn't that an outdated uniform for schools today? One of the first thoughts for me before I even watched the first episode was, what modern high school still uses a sailor uniform outside of anime? And honestly, it was kind of right on the mark. When Akebi goes to the entrance ceremony, she finds out that yes, the current school has updated their uniforms to be blazers. However, as the sailor uniform is technically an approved uniform for the school, they will allow her to wear it if she would like. Obviously, this could have led to drama, with her being bullied, or being an outcast and whatnot, and her mom is worried for her, but I'm really glad they didn't go that route. In fact, the main focus at the beginning of the series is just Akebi making friends and the awkwardness of your first days at high school. In that aspect, the choice to have Akebi wear a different uniform actually works perfect to give her a reason to stand out as the protagonist. Obviously, people are going to be curious about the only person wearing a different uniform. But it's definitely not used as a gimmick, as Akebi herself is just a really great character. She's very vibrant and active and has a very bubbly personality. She's definitely the type of person that is easy to make friends with and would stand out in a crowd anyway, so this really just accentuates her character. Overall, that just helps the show feel very cozy and warm. Now, the other girls they have introduced have gotten a bit of airtime, but I feel like they haven't quite been explored enough to really get a good grasp of their character. I mean, you can kind of get the gist of some of them. For example, there is one girl who is obviously very introverted and reserved, and then there is another girl who is obviously the more outgoing type and extroverted. Honestly, I haven't really gotten the names of the different girls yet. There is a blonde one, there's a girl with glasses. Again, I feel like their characters have not really been explored enough to really get a solid grasp of what they are about, and that is probably one of the reasons none of them have really stood out to me that much. The thing that has kind of caught me off guard was this shoujo ai/yuri subtext that seems to be present in the show. I checked the tags again to make sure, and I didn't see anything that said shoujo ai or yuri, but a couple of scenes in particular have really stood out to me. One of them was in the second episode where they are eating lunch, and the blonde girl is watching Akebi kind of strike up a conversation with this other girl that's there, and she has this kind of disapproving scowl on her face. And the other girl is making comments that could definitely be interpreted the wrong way if you look at them from a romantic point of view. Obviously, I could be reading way too into that scene, and she could just be jealous that her newfound friend has found somebody else already, literally a few minutes after meeting them. But the reason I even bring it up is because of the scenes that happen in episode 3. Namely, there's another scene with Akebi, and I think the other girl's name is Tanigawa. They're stuck in the rain and they have to take shelter, and Akebi reads a book for her. She ends up falling asleep on her lap, and it's a very heartwarming scene and cute scene. Again, though, during that whole scene, I did feel this kind of weird tension in the background. and that might just be because that scene has been pulled out of literally every shoujo and romance series ever, but it still was there. I'll be interested to see if they keep up those undertones for the remainder of the series, but I don't feel like it will ever be more than hinted at or examined on a deeper level, which is completely fine. This series does not have to be a very deep and thought-provoking series, but one thing that I am hoping for with the introduction of the clubs is a direction for this series to head towards some sort of climax. So far, it's been very slow and episodic, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've been enjoying it immensely. But I do want there to be a little bit more to sink my teeth into, a little bit more crunch, if you would say. The addition of the clubs feels like it's a step in that direction. They've already hinted at least once per episode about this idol that Akebi loves. I think her name is Miki. And with her athleticism and now Akebi joining the drama club, which is very fitting, by the way, it definitely feels like she could give some sort of end-of-the-year performance or maybe at a cultural festival. And it's going to be on a stage where maybe she can emulate her idol or act in a play, something along those lines. I kind of hope that they don't go the route where they have the idol be part of the school or come back to the school or perform with Akebi. I could definitely see it taking that route, but I would prefer seeing something like Akebi realizing her own dream or realizing that she does have a dream, something along those lines. So far, the show does not seem like it will hit on any large-scale topics like that, because the story, at least through the first few episodes, has been very small and contained. Overall, this show has just been a great joy to watch over the first few episodes, and I'll definitely be watching more of it, but I really wanted to bring this to the forefront and kind of showcase it in a way that I don't feel like it's being talked about enough. There's so many other shows like Dress Up Darling and Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer, all these huge shows that are super popular all over the internet, and I feel like this one is getting buried under all of those, and it shouldn't be. It's definitely something that I recommend you check out, especially if you're looking for a very heartwarming, lighthearted series that has some fantastic visuals. If you've made it all the way to the end of my video, leave a comment if you're enjoying this show like me, or if you think there are other shows that deserve more love like this one. Thank you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.